Arts, I'm delighted to have you here this evening, and for what in my mind is one of the most special, if not the most special collaborations I think I've ever seen, either in the North or in the South. Brought to you by these four amazing artists, three of whom live in Iyaituk, and one of whom, Lyne, lives in Iyaituk and Montreal to a certain degree. So I've asked them to actually introduce themselves and also to just tell us a little bit about the procedures, how this started, about the project itself, and what might be in the future. So I'm going to go and be the FaceTime person. So the family at home, just do this.
So, okay, I'm Lyne, and I've had the tremendous opportunity of living in the North. In Iyaituk particularly, this is our third year, starting now. And while I was up there, I'm living there with my husband, who was a teacher at the Catholic School Board. And the idea was that I would do my own work as an artist, and that's quite easy because the landscape and the environment in the North is just so incredibly amazing that I could have done just that. But I wanted not to just live in isolation in that community. I wanted to share something with the people there and work with the artists. And so I started teaching lino cut printmaking, which I thought was the most accessible, easiest medium to work with, and I found it interesting because it's so close in its approach to stone cut printing, which had originated there, mostly in Nunavut, that eventually came to Quebec. So I started giving workshops, and these three women are the ones that were so the most involved in making prints, and they just wanted to make more and more. And since then, I've been also giving workshops in other northern communities, but always coming back to Iyaituk. And so 2 years ago, I received a grant from Le Conseil des Arts et Lettres du Québec to work on a project, on a collaborative project, and I invited these three artists to work with me. And this is what was born of that collaboration. And I'm really excited to be here, as I know we all are. And initially, when we started, we met, I spoke to them about the project, and we did some drawings. There were certain guidelines, like the sizes of their plates needed to be no smaller than this, no bigger than that, because they would be combined with other shapes. And so they each went on to create their own set of little shapes. Passa worked on, why don't you talk about what you worked on? This is Passa's work here, Passa Mangiuk. And so what are your shapes about?
Well, my shapes are mostly about the culture, like mostly on sealskins or animals, how they make, how they are drying, how they are used. That's what that's what they make. And as you can see, the background is like winter. And you can see the sealskins that we use a lot, that they used to wear a lot, used a lot. And it can be a blue sky or white clouds. It could be summer too. They used to wear sealskin all year long. And for fishing thing, it's a spear to catch fish. They didn't have anything. It was mostly on that, what I made. And it was my first time doing this artwork and my first time in gallery. I'm happy about that. And I was very interested very happy to work with Lyne and this, my sister and my friend there, my cousin, second cousin. We're family.
And Qumaq's piece is that one. So what about this, the shapes that you selected?
The shapes that I selected, by the way, my name is Qumaq Iyaituk. My husband is Iyaituk, if you have heard about him. I know you have. The shapes that I selected are on this particular flag is mostly about survival, how we survived for children, for women, and for men. Because all of the things that show here is about not freezing in the cold. It can be up to 40 degrees, 40 below. And the hulik is our survival, even though little fire can be very precious at that time. Very, very, very little that the woman, a wife with children, would keep it lighted all through the night. If suddenly, by accident, it is lit off, they would get it from the neighbor and put the fire in the amouti. You see the woman to carry the baby. She would put it inside her hood and keep it lighted and bring it back home to light up the hulik. And also the clothing are for the children are to keep them warm for toddlers. And also the men are using the mittens. The mitts there are waterproof sealskin. There's no the woman clean it perfectly and make sure that they're not making any holes to protect them from freezing. And the hamudik is for every time they go out in land, or they go in hunting, or they travel with the family to go in another where they can catch more animals to survive. Because in springtime they would move, or in summertime they would go and try to find a place. That's how everything is all put together as clothing to survive for us to be here today. And I'm proud of that. As an Inuk, these are my precious value, because I'm proud of my great-grandparents, my ancestors, because they made us survive up to today, even though some of them are still, we are using them. The things that we don't normally use right now are like not there, but the things you see here are the little boots that are rarely done now, because today they are mostly wearing from the store boots or something, but we can still make them because we are still using them to survive when we are in land. Because when we are in land, we don't see anything but hill and mountains, hills and snow in wintertime. So if I bring you there, let's say, I will clothe you well. Thank you.
Thanks. And the one behind me is Mary's. And as you can see, there are a lot of plant forms in Mary's piece. So Mary, maybe you can explain why you picked those.
Okay, thank you. I picked those flowers because I was growing up in Sandra with my father every year, and we used to use these flowers and my grandparents to make a fire from those flowers in winter time inside of the igloo. still can use them. And I was growing up with the flowers. I used to eat them every year because we didn't have any store in the center. And I didn't see the people who was making the flowers, but we still using those ituti to make boiling water or barbecue. And we still eat those flowers, kakauti, and my father used to make those tea from those when we ran out of the tea without any stores. So I like those flowers. I was growing them with them. I still eat those flowers, and they're so small. I make them bigger, and we survive with those flowers. I like those flowers too, looking at them and blooming every year. And we survive with those flowers, so I put them there and it's fun to make them.
I found it really interesting, and it was really important from the start that they choose to work with elements that they felt close to, and that had meaning for them. And the idea, of course, was to combine all of this. And the shapes that I worked with are a lot more abstract, because although it's so easy to be inspired by all of the cultural elements that are a part of my living space and the people that I work with, I'm not in it, so it was important to me not to try to reproduce elements and appropriate them, of course. So I wanted to start from those shapes as a point of departure, as an inspiration, but I wanted to transform them in a way that's really my own. But it was interesting to see for all of us how we can combine all of this and make it work. And that's what it was all about. It was about collaborating. And it's amazing what we learned about each other and our cultures, and just from working together. And of course, it was a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, a lot of joy. And I didn't know that all of this wonderful work would come out of it, but I also find it interesting that although it's all these shapes that are repeated from one piece to the other, each one is really unique. You know, the personality of each of the people come through. And what I was so happy to hear at the end of it, because I was blessed because they trusted me from the start, not even really knowing what would happen with all this. And when I said, well, we're going to do monotypes for the color backgrounds, they didn't know what monotype was. So we did it, and they said, oh, that's monotype, I want to do more. And at the end of it all, they said, I want to make more of this. I want to do this again now that I know what it's about. So to me, that was priceless. So hopefully we will be doing more projects like this. But what we're hoping now is to get space, because we are working in my living room. And they are all working with people from different organizations and seeing what can happen in terms of a space to work. So hopefully this show will be talked about and shown so that those organizations in Quebec can see the work and decide, hey, we have some serious artists here, and let's support them. So thank you all so much for being here to support this project.
I just want to a very large thank you, not for me. But I did want to say that there was a fifth panel, I'm correct, a fifth collaboration that went to the school.
Yes.
So they actually donated one to the school, which is wonderful. And I do believe we have in our presence the mayor of Iyaituk.
Yes.
I just thought I'd point that out. you know, although we've worked on the show very, very hard, Stephanie in particular has worked on the show very hard, we actually only met today, other than Lyne. And it has been for me just an amazing pleasure to meet all of you. I look forward to the next 2 days to getting to know you better. And we will spread the word, all of us here, as much as we can, because you've made this amazing start and you deserve to have a space in which to work. So everything that we can do to help with that, we will be happy to do.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.